Judge Andrew Napolitano to help us understand and digest the charges and what has happened over the last hour. Judge, always thank you for being here. Kid gloves, weak charges, a sweetheart plea deal. Those are the criticism we're hearing. Is any of that fair?
Well, it's fair in that the penalty that he will suffer is a lot less than what most people would. I mean, we're talking about 1.4 million in taxes, not 1.4 million in income, but 1.4 million in taxes, unreported and obviously unpaid for. Most people would endure a lot more than just a couple of years probation on that. As for the gun charge, it's actually a federal pretrial intervention. So what that means is he's not actually pleading guilty. He's willing to undergo a probationary period, which will have to do with weaning him off of whatever controlled dangerous substances he's been on. And if he completes the probationary period to the government's satisfaction, the gun charge will be dropped. Now, the gun charge prohibits, it's a federal statute, prohibits anyone, no matter what the state law is, anyone in the United States from possessing a gun who's hopelessly addicted to drugs. Is he? Well, he admitted it in his autobiography. So when he when he applied for the gun permit in Delaware, and they asked him if he was addicted to drugs, he said no. So the charge is actually lying on a federal document. That charge is not a guilty plea. That charge will be dropped as if it never existed if he successfully completes the pretrial interventionary program.
The big question I think a lot of people still have, and Republicans are going to go down this road, they already have, Representative Comer saying the investigation will continue. They will continue to move forward to look into the business dealings of not only Hunter Biden, but the president's possible involvement without, I should say, any evidence so far. Does this end the Delaware investigation? Hunter Biden's team saying all things resolved.
It's almost inconceivable that the Delaware criminal investigation could continue beyond this. This has all of the earmarks of a final termination of it. I know of no other federal criminal allegations against him that are properly before the Delaware authorities. And as we know, this is a Republican Trump-appointed U.S. attorney that made this deal. This is not a deal the level of which would even reach Washington, D.C. This is a deal, no matter the last name and relatives of the defendant, that is perfectly within the authority of the U.S. attorney in Delaware to wrap up on his own. Look, when Jack Smith wanted to seek Donald Trump's indictment, we know that Merrick Garland, the attorney general, had to approve of it. But this deal involving these tax charges and this gun charge did not require the approval of Maine Justice, of the attorney general himself. If the Republicans want to keep investigating this on the political side, well, they can keep doing it, but it's unlikely that that would result in any charges against Hunter Biden.
So he'll appear in court now. That's the next step. What might that appearance look like?
It'll be rather benign. He'll appear in court if the judge approves this. Now, this is a deal between Hunter Biden's lawyers and the U.S. attorney. And there are two ways that judges look at this. Some judges say, well, I'm not a potted plant. I'm not just going to accept anything that comes in my courtroom and sign it. I've got to look at this and make sure the punishment is appropriate, not too heavy and not too light. And the judge could reject it. Other judges will say, I'm a judge. My job is to resolve disputes. Both sides come into my courtroom. They both want the same thing, acceptance of this guilty plea. I'm going to go along with it. I don't know who the judge is in this case or what that judge's attitude. So if he rejects it, we're back to square one. If he accepts it, it's over with. It'll take about 10 or 15 minutes, a lot of Q&A. Did you do this? Did you do this? Do you understand this is the likely penalty? Do you understand that the judge could reject it if he wants? And then walk out of the courtroom.
Given the high-profile nature of this case, though, how does that factor into the judge's next step?
It shouldn't factor into it at all. Now, judges are human, as I can tell you, but they must labor mightily to treat this defendant as if his name were Hunter Jones. and not Hunter Biden.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.